So today I'm gonna take the time and show you the bright side of the dark side. In case you haven't guessed it, today we are going to be talking about RWBY Gloom, and I am unnecessarily excited because that is legit one of my favorite shows ever. We're still under quarantine where I live, so it's still shitty camera and outdated microphone. But as long as the quality of my work speaks louder than the quality of my recording equipment, then I should be okay. Originally created in 2004, the character of RWBY Gloom originally appeared as a clothing mascot, appearing on such things as backpacks, pencil cases, and the like. For those of you who don't know, her original incarnation was a lot gloomier than her TV show incarnation would be a couple of years later. Don't get me wrong, she was still the happiest girl in the world. But in this case, she was so happy she could die. The character garnered a following large enough for Canadian TV company Nelvana to purchase the rights to it, and in 2006, the first episode of RWBY Gloom debuted. The show introduced many new characters, including Frank and Len, Skullboy, and Misery, and turned the focus from a melancholic goth property aimed at teenagers to a melancholic goth property aimed at children. That, however, is what makes the series so special in my opinion. The show only would air until 2008 and concluded with a grand total of 40 episodes across 3 seasons. But for its entire run, RWBY Gloom never compromised. The stories were still relatable for children, yet enjoyable for adults. There were never really many adult jokes mixed into the humor, but the humor never had to be reduced to lazy slapstick, pulp culture references, or just mindless noise. The show never spoke to the lowest common denominator of viewers, and that is why, in my opinion, this show was and still is and will always remain timeless. Never did we see Iris throwing herself carelessly into objects despite the risk it may pose to others like we would see in a modern-day SpongeBob cartoon. Iris was reckless and enthusiastic, but that never came at the expense of somebody else. If you wanted to join her along for the next adventure, you were more than welcome, but she was never going to clobber you on her way to her next pursuit, or the next thrill. Small touches like that are what make this show so special to me. The character writing was always above and beyond what it needed to be. Take a character like Misery, for example, who was so aptly named. She was struck by lightning almost every minute she was awake, suffered intense allergic reactions, and was hurt more times than one could count. Now, tell me how many times Misery complained about this in the entire run of the show. The answer? As many pounds as I've lost since filming the last video for this channel. And surprise, it's 0. Instead of sulking or wallowing in her misery, she instead always took it in stride and made the best of the situation. What's the big deal? Don't count scars. Things could be worse than they usually are. This trend continues for almost every single character on the show. Ruby is our perfect optimist who is always there to help her friends, who is always the happiest girl in the world. But every once in a while she does have a moment of weakness, and she does let one of her other friends be the emotional support, conveying that it is okay to have these moments and let somebody else steer, because we're all going to have moments like that at some point. Even Skullboy, which is a character I really don't care for amongst most of the other characters, has a very, very relatable message of just trying to find where he belongs and find somewhere he fits in. That's a struggle that a lot of us can relate to. Frank and Len, who are absolutely pithy, are a bit dim. Len and Frank, we sing though our minds are blank. We're Len and Frank. That being said, they are increasingly loyal. This show oozes charm in every single facet. Now, while the TV show did make the characters a bit more lighthearted, it never did lose that gothic aspect to it, settling for dark backgrounds and a very unique look where every frame is just filled with looming mansions, low fog hanging over the ground, dead trees overlooking the dense foliage. It's pretty great. It's very, very aesthetically pleasing, and in contrast to that, the characters are all bright and colorful, but still animated with a whimsicality about them. They were inspired by scary creatures with dark themes, but were never menacing or frightening or foreboding. They invited you in instead of scaring you shitless. Finally, I want to talk about the music. And I'll be honest, this is where a little bit of my bias is going to come into play. I have and just always will be inexplicably attracted to shows that prioritize and use original music. Because that just takes so much more effort than you actually need to go to for producing a kid's show. They could easily leave that aspect out and just rely on a main theme like so many other kids shows do. Or they could have went the live action Alvin and the Chipmunks route and just played some heartless modern hit. But to create original music that, and I'm just gonna say it, kicks ass, is such an amazing and refreshing thing to see. Animaniacs, Phineas and Ferb, Ruby Gloom, time and time again, I find myself falling in love with shows that do this and prioritize this. We have Frank and Len here as our guitar masters, and the riffs actually legitimately shred. How cool is that? There are catchy lyrics, it's fun themes. Overall, it is absolutely a blast, and I highly recommend, if you don't know anything about the show and have never seen the music, pause this video, or when it's over, go look up Quadroglumia or Misery's Lullaby, two of my personal favorites from this show. Dare I say it, their music is pretty pithy. Super pithy. Even taking the music in the show aside, just take a look at the theme song, which wins the totally legit Fatman's Most Catchiest Theme Song Award. Ruby Gloom, at least for me, is truly a beacon for what can happen to a TV show when you have smart writers, a super talented voice cast, and people who aren't willing to dumb down a project or make needless sacrifices just so it could be some mindless background noise to entertain your toddler. And I will boldly claim it, at me at it, fight me on it, whatever the hell the kids say these days. There has not been a cartoon as good as Ruby Gloom on the air for at least, at a minimum, the last 7 or 8 years. I will defend that nonstop. Ruby Gloom is a masterclass. The colors, the atmosphere, the characters, they're all just bursting with creativity and heart. It's just such a damn shame this show didn't last longer than it did. And sadly, out of the 40 episodes, only about 24 are available in the US, scattered across 6 DVDs that were released in 2013. I would love to see a full series release in the near future, because this is a must-own. I cannot stress that enough. If you haven't seen it or you're interested, a lot of the episodes can be found here on YouTube. I don't know how long they're going to last. But if you're looking for a legal way to do it, Amazon Prime is streaming the show in its entirety, and it is worth every cent you may spend on it. And I could honest to God say I have never recommended anything more passionately on this channel that you, the viewer, should watch as passionately as I am recommending to you Ruby Gloom. And if I have not managed to sell you on it throughout this video, well, then you're just not getting it, Len. I be Fatman, and that was my take on one of my favorite cartoons of all time. Have you seen it? Have you heard of it? If you have, what are your favorite characters? What are some of your favorite moments? What do you think of the music? Engage, because it's so hard to find fans of this show that aren't some creepy 4chan DeviantArt weirdos, which I'm totally not. So, engage in the comments, fire off down below. Do you like Ruby Gloom? Are you going to check it out? Are you new to it? When did you find out about it? I just want to talk to somebody about this show. Help me out here. And as always, if you are new to this channel, please hit that stupid little bell and tap all notifications to stay up to date with what we do. Maybe even hit that subscribe button and share us around. I've been Fatman. This was another installment here at ZeitgeistOG. Check back with us soon. I don't know when quarantine's going to be over, so probably expect shit really inconsistent quality for a while. I patched the hole in my armchair. Peace.